Hello and welcome to the outside again. As you can see in Wales, the weather has changed somewhat. It's a different season, it's September, and autumn's pretty much here now. But it's great because I love this time of year, these lovely fresh days. I mean, when I pulled up, there was a lovely view there, but the mist has come in because we're quite high up a mountain at the moment. But you don't hear about this, you want to hear about this. This is the new Bullet 350 touring seat, but obviously mounted on this classic 350, which you remember from the last video. This bolts straight on, no modifications. If you want to put the Bullet seat or Bullet touring seat on your new classic 350 Reborn, all you need is the seat. Everything else is the same. The subframe, these two mounting bolts, whatever rack you've got, whatever handlebars you've got, whatever accessory you've got. Obviously not the spring kit, because this goes right down to the frame. But if you want a Bullet seat, new Bullet seat, on your new classic 350, all you need is this seat. There's nothing else you need to add, and you can turn your new classic 350 into a Bullet. If you've never seen this one before, and you're wondering what the bloody hell has happened to that bike, please have a look at the playlist, because that will explain everything. But essentially this is a 2022 classic 350 Reborn, but it's now been Bullet seatized. Now, I've had this on a couple of weeks. I've been riding around, so I'll give some thoughts on it. That's a good YouTuber would say. On your classic, you've got a big gap under the seat where that spring kit goes, or where there's just a space, and then you've got your seat. But the Bullet, this seat, this massive foam chunk, goes all the way down to the frame rail. So as a consequence of that, the seat is nearer the floor, so you can reach the floor easier, but you've got a thicker seat overall. And is it very comfortable? It is very comfortable. Obviously a lot more foam than either the standard classic seat or the low ride one. The leg room is nice because you can sit further back, and I'd estimate you can probably sit back, if you wish, probably 2 or 3 inches or 75 millimeters. It doesn't feel quite as far forward as the classic. The consequence of that is the handlebars feel a bit further forward. If you look at my fingertips, or only just reaching the bars, if I lean forward for them, I don't feel like I'm leaning forward. It's not something that's coming up as a problem. But I have noticed that when I'm riding, I'm leaving my throttle hand on, perhaps sitting back a bit, and sort of reaching forward to the throttle with my fingers and sort of cruising along. But that happens on a lot of bikes, doesn't it? And obviously you can get touring bars for these, classic touring bars, which are higher. So they'd be, I think, about 50mm higher, something like that. And I think, although I've not seen it myself, the Bullet itself comes with taller handlebars, and maybe that's why. So maybe if it bothered you, you could fit Bullet or touring handlebars itself. But to be honest, it doesn't seem to be bothering me. And I'm on quite a slope as well, so I'm wanting to lean forward anyway. So yes, this is a very comfortable seat to ride on. Much more so than the low ride seat. But then it would be, because that's only got about 2 inches of foam. But that's not the whole story. There seems to be 2 side effects of having the Bullet seat. The first one is, which doesn't make much sense, but does, the bike seems a lot more controllable at low speed. I know that sounds strange, but I've been quite wobbly before. Maybe I'm just crap. Quite wobbly before on the classic low ride seat. But with this Bullet seat on, I do almost no speed, just walking pace maneuvers, full lock, U-turns. The bike just seems so much more controllable. That might just be me getting used to the bike. But I noticed straight away, everything seems more stable. Obviously there's a lot of psychological effects going on there. Perhaps it's to do with the way you sort of sat in the bike, but I've got no idea. But the bike seems much more easier to control. And also, we'll say three things then. Also, as a consequence of that, on the road, it seems much more stable as well. Again, ridiculous, maybe, but just cruising along the road, it just feels, the whole platform just feels nicer, more refined. Again, could be completely psychological, but it was noticeable. And absolutely, from the first time I tried it, just how much more stable and smooth the whole ride seemed to be. So make of that what you will. Again, maybe I'm just full of nonsense. Now, let's touch on the third benefit of the Bullet seat for me. What was instantly noticeable as well is how much it improved, not the sitting, not the actual comfort of sitting on it, but the ride quality. Because before, I thought the Classic, the front forks were fine, the rear suspension, perhaps a little harsh, perhaps 70% as good as it should be, but Bullet touring seat is like a magic carpet. I mean, I'm sure there's still more comfortable bikes, but it's a night and day difference with the Bullet seat, how smooth the ride is from the back suspension. Bumps that I would have been sort of, jiggling over before, it just sort of floats on. I see, you see a pothole coming, and where you might have sort of winced a little in anticipation of the back crashing over it. This massive foam seat, it just, a big upgrade. So, it's more comfortable to sit on, the bike's more stable, the cruise is nicer, there's more room, and the ride is better. So, any disadvantages? Well, the main disadvantage is it doesn't look like a Classic 350 anymore, which is a shame, because I love the solo seat look. And I didn't really anticipate having this lump here. But I can't see that when I'm riding. But still, it's a shame that it's not a solo seat. But it is quite handsome in its own way. And it still feels like it's a Classic 350, of course, or a Bullet, but somehow more refined, like I said, which is strange. But with all moving things and vehicles, sometimes perception is reality, isn't it? So it's a very nice seat. I'm glad I did it and tried it. Obviously we've got that original rack, which is still in tatty mode, but obviously that kind of works at the moment. Lovely, nice. It's nice just to sit on. I should just put it in the house and sit on it. It's a very nice seat. So, if you want that Bullet touring seat or Bullet seat on your Classic, it's the only thing you need to get. Obviously, this smooth transition at the edge is very comfortable, and it does go down quite narrow at the front here, so again that makes reaching the floor even easier. Very grown-up bike. So there you go. That is my impressions of the Bullet 350 touring seat on a Classic. And I think if you have a new Bullet or have ridden one, I think you'd be surprised if you then rode a Classic how much nicer your Bullet is than a Classic. Not leaps and bounds, not unimaginably so, but I think you'd noticeably see that it was smoother. But having said all that, I haven't actually tried a standard Classic 350, because when I rebuilt this, I went straight to the low ride seat, which was a bit harsh and uncomfortable, as I've talked about before. So I think, let's pop back to the workshop, of course. Let's whip this off and put the standard seat on, and then we'll come back and I'll give an instant impression of the difference between going from this to a standard classic 350 seat, which I've never ridden. Let's go. Right, Rusty's back in the workshop, just down the bottom of the mountain. So there's the Bullet touring seat, and this is what I had on before, which is the Royal Enfield low ride seat with a custom cover on, which is beautiful. Unfortunately, I just wasn't finding it very comfortable. So standard Royal Enfield low ride seat compared to this massive amount of foam on the Bullet touring seat. And what I want to try is, which I haven't tried, a standard classic 350 seat. Just somewhere between the two. So you've got that much foam there, but still considerably more foam there. So I don't know what it's going to be like. And obviously, as you can see, just with a crashed bike, this seat cover is damaged. Still a perfectly usable seat, but damaged. Now, as usual, on eBay, I found an Indian seller selling the genuine Royal Enfield accessory covers, and these were only £17. So I picked up one of these. I'm going to pop this cover over this and pop it on Rusty. And this has actually got it's got about 8mm to a centimetre of foam itself. Not a huge amount, but still better than nothing. And this just fits over. It's got a sort of drawstring, like some kid's bag, to tie it up. Let's pop this cover on first, and we'll swap the seats over. And I'll show you how quick that should be. Let's have a look. It's a handy flight case. So standard cover is just stapled on, like most motorcycles. Stapled on around the edge, but we're not going to disturb the original damaged cover. I'm just going to pop this one over the top. Like I said, it's got this drawstring and a couple of plastic loops. Now, you might remember I used a similar one on the Meteor for that seat. I ended up stapling it for similar reasons. So we might pop the odd staple in to this as well, just to make it tight, because there's no, it's damaged underneath anyway, so I don't mind it being a one-way trip, like many of my things are. So let's pop this over. And these are genuine Royal Enfield accessory covers. You can get these. It comes with a pillion one as well. Let's try and pull that on equally. So obviously it's all ballooned out, but hopefully when we give this a good stretching, let's tie these loops together. That should come out better. Right, let's have a go. Okay. Just make sure it's where I want it to be. Right, let's go. Okay, well I just tore the edge there from pulling too hard. I got a feeling I did that on the Meteor as well, funnily enough. There we are, you can see that's pulled that in. Not so much around the front. Don't know. That could well be what these loops are for. That's pretty well and pretty tight. So let's do this again. pretty good. Obviously you can see the seam through it. That's unavoidable. Right, I'll try and tie a knot in there. Let's just fold that over twice. Get some friction in the knot. The nylon string like this, I'm not very hopeful that you get much friction. Yeah, not bad. Little floppy there, but like I said, we got these loops here, like, to pull it. Although again, that's opened up the stitching, like. So don't be too aggressive with it. Pretty good. Now, because I know this is going to be a one-way trip for this cover, I'm going to get my staple gun and we're going to pop a couple of staples in there. It's an upholstery staple gun, which is these are about 50 quid. I use these for work. But some of the cheap electric ones that you see for a tenner or so in your local 4-letter word supermarket, they do this as well. Push that. Where does it need pulling? Here. So you've got this bit of rubber here. It's been a bit annoying. Oh yeah. There we go. To be honest, it's 80% there. You'd be perfectly fine if you want to add one of these covers to your bike just to try it. You don't have to do what I'm doing. I mean, that goes for a lot of what I do, let's face it. Because I know the seat is damaged underneath, but there's no point being precious about it. Another recurring theme. God, this staple gun has rescued me a few times. Someone's about to go on stage, something's wobbling, you just go up with this. Bang, bang. No more problems. Stick one in the front. Or should we leave it? I think we'll leave that. Here we go. One speedily upholstered classic 350 seat. Great. Few wrinkles, but they'll probably come out now as the vinyl stretches. Add some staples there. Let's pop just a couple in there actually. It does get addictive, so be careful. Brilliant. Now, what else? You might remember when I was putting this on, I got the Royal Enfield decorative spring kit, which is an absolute and utter pain in the arse to fit on and off the bike. So for now, I'm going to put it on, but I'm not going to put these bottom brackets on. I'm just going to leave the springs swinging in midair, because that'll be perfectly enough for this test ride. Just swap these over. Bullet seat is held on very simply with these 4 M8 bolts at the back. Now mine are quite loose because I've already broken the thread lock, but many people struggle with these, so use the best Allen key drive that you can find. Get that rack off without marking that seat. Pop those 4 M8 cables safe, and this should just lift and pull. That's it. And that under there is your original classic 350 subframe. The bullet seat goes straight on, and that seat bracket is going to fit on here. So we're going to get rid of the subframe. I also added these 2 washers because obviously with that seat bracket missing, there's a gap there. But otherwise, just classic 350 underneath, and that bullet seat just works. Right, hold on, because I'm going to need a couple of spanners. I need to undo these suspension bolts, get rid of this classic 350 subframe. Now annoyingly, that one nut is right tucked down the back here. Now if you've just got your shiny new classic 350, this is absolutely the point where you want to be protecting the rear mudguard from scratches. Not as important for me, obviously, with my distressed finish. Let's get a cloth under there, because when we loosen this bolt, this is going to tip backwards and touch this metal. Here we go. Let's have that washer. dishwasher. Because I'm putting the solo seat on without the pillion, we're not going to use this long bolt. We're going to use two short ones. So is this going to give up its secrets? There we go. Obviously that just hooks on the suspension bolts, so they only need to be loosened. And hopefully no damage. Not that it's easy to tell, a bit of water. It's a good opportunity to get it clean underneath. Hey. So obviously the classic 350 seat bracket is going to go down over the top of these flanges, or these crash tubes rather. And then these two bolts go back in. You need to source yourself another one of these if you're taking your pillion off. Because obviously you only get one short one and one long one, but you need two short ones. But it's just standard M8 bolt. Just make sure we're secure. Make sure you can see. Let's move around a bit. Anything I've forgotten? Oh, we'll do those bolts up, but we'll see that in a sec, don't worry. That tongue has to go into a recess in here. Be more careful than me. Right, front's engaged. They're flopping around. Great. Pop these bolts in. That looks different. Actually, that's the first time I've seen my classic 350 with the exposed rear mudguard. Oh, it looks really good, doesn't it? Bugger. Right, let's go out for a ride. Let's get back out and see what I think of the standard classic 350 seat after the bullet touring one. I've got this bit of extra foam. Oh, it looks so cool. Let's have a better look outside. Right, to the mountain. Look at that, sun's come out. Told you it would happen. So, first impressions. Standard classic 350 seat. Well, first overriding impression is that half the seat's missing when you sit on it. All that lovely support that was there from the bullet seat has just disappeared. It is quite comfortable though. Obviously it's much thicker than that low ride seat, and it's got this foam cover on top. So I'm not going to say, obviously I've only done a couple of miles, look, so I'm not going to say it's uncomfortable. It does feel quite comfortable, so it's okay. But you do feel like a lot of that support from the bullet seat is gone, especially on these sides here, where you'd usually feel all that that foam just isn't there on this. But that's not to say it's uncomfortable. So we'll do some more with this. See how that feels. I'll give a proper opinion at the time. But obviously it looks fantastic, doesn't it? This lovely curved mudguard. It really looks good. Bugger. Although when you're riding it, it's behind you, so maybe it's not important. But I'll stick with this for a bit. Do some riding, see how it goes. At least I've got loads of options. And it doesn't take long to change it back, as you saw. What to do? I need somewhere to put my bag now. That's the next problem. So I hope that was helpful. At least now you've seen what it's like to have the two different seats on your Classic. But it's cheap and easy to do. You just need a bullet seat. And they come up quite regularly, funny enough. So thanks very much for watching. See you next time. We'll do something else with this bike.